Sourcing for Journalists, a comprehensive guide. Gathering and reporting sources are critical steps for journalists to create credible, accurate, and impactful stories. This lesson covers the methods, ethics, and best practices involved in sourcing for journalists. Understanding source types. 1. Primary sources. These are first-hand accounts or direct pieces of evidence, such as interviews with eyewitnesses, official documents, government reports, legal records, and public statements. Primary sources are the foundation for reliable reporting because they offer original, direct perspectives on an event or topic. 2. Secondary sources. Secondary sources analyze or interpret primary data. Examples include articles, books, expert analyses, and previously published research. Journalists use secondary sources to add context or provide additional perspectives. 3. Expert sources. Experts have specialized knowledge that can lend credibility and depth to a story. These include academics, scientists, industry professionals, and analysts. Expert sources are especially useful in explaining complex topics to the audience. 4. Anonymous sources. Sometimes journalists rely on anonymous sources to access information that wouldn't otherwise be obtainable. However, this should be used cautiously and only when necessary to maintain credibility and protect both the source and the publication. Finding reliable sources. Direct interviews. Reaching out to people directly affected by an event or with first-hand knowledge provides fresh insights and often uncovers unique perspectives. Public records and databases. Journalists regularly consult publicly accessible information such as court records, government databases, property records, and financial disclosures for objective data that strengthens the factual basis of a story. Research and academic studies. Published studies, reports from research institutions, and peer-reviewed articles provide authoritative information. It's important to confirm that these sources are current and come from reputable institutions. Conducting interviews effectively. 1. Preparation. Before an interview, journalists should research the topic and the interviewee, prepare relevant questions, and be aware of any sensitive issues. Knowing the interviewee's background allows for more insightful questions and a smoother conversation. 2. Setting the tone. Establish a comfortable and respectful environment to encourage honest and open responses. Journalists should be polite, make clear their intention, and explain the scope of the interview. 3. Open-ended questions. Ask open-ended questions to prompt detailed responses rather than simple yes or no answers. For example, instead of asking, "Did the event affect you?" try, "How did the event affect you?" 4. Listening and follow-up questions. Active listening helps journalists catch important details or statements that need further clarification. Follow-up questions are crucial for uncovering specifics and ensuring accuracy.
5. Clarification and fact-checking. Before concluding the interview, verify any unclear points and ask the source to clarify if needed. This reduces the risk of misinterpretation. Ethical considerations in sourcing. Accuracy and fairness. Always strive for accuracy, even if it means double-checking information. Fair representation of sources and avoiding selective or biased reporting helps prevent misleading the audience. Transparency and disclosure. Make it clear to sources who you are, why you are reporting the story, and how their information will be used. Being transparent helps build trust and reduces potential conflicts. Protecting confidentiality. If a source requests anonymity, or if there is a need to keep their identity confidential for safety or legal reasons, journalists should honor that request whenever it serves the public interest and can be justified. Avoiding conflicts of interest. Journalists should not use sources with whom they have personal, financial, or ideological connections. It's also essential to avoid accepting gifts, favors, or payments from sources, which can compromise the impartiality of the story. Verifying information from sources. Cross-reference sources. Comparing information from multiple sources helps verify facts and avoid misinformation. Whenever possible, corroborate information with an independent source. Use public records and data. Whenever possible, support statements and claims with objective data from public records, scientific reports, and government databases. Check for bias and motivation. Consider any potential biases a source might have. For example, a corporate representative may emphasize their company's positive impact, while an activist might highlight only negative aspects. Consult experts. If a claim is complex or technical, seek verification from an expert in the relevant field to clarify any potential inaccuracies. Reporting and attribution. Direct attribution. When using quotes or specific information, always attribute it to the source. This allows the audience to understand where the information comes from and judge its reliability. Handling anonymous sources. If anonymity is granted, specify why the source remains unnamed to maintain transparency. Limit the use of anonymous sources and provide as much context as possible. Use of paraphrasing and direct quotes. While paraphrasing can simplify complex information, direct quotes are best for conveying a source's perspective or specific language. Be careful not to change the meaning when paraphrasing. Avoiding misrepresentation. Ensure that the context and intent of the source's statements are preserved. Selective quoting, which can distort meaning, is unethical and can damage trust. Building and maintaining source relationships. Show respect and gratitude. Respect the source's time and acknowledge their contribution. Follow up with a thank you message or provide a copy of the published piece. Protect confidential sources. Upholding promises of confidentiality builds trust and encourages others to share information in the future. Stay in touch. Building long-term connections with sources fosters ongoing communication and trust, making sources more likely to share information when needed. Respect boundaries. Avoid pressuring sources into disclosing information they are uncomfortable sharing. Respecting boundaries prevents damaging relationships and shows professionalism.